Welcome back to the Leadership Blueprint Growth Podcast. Today's guest is Emmanuel Puga, founder and CEO of Great Plan and creator of the UDDT model. For over 2 decades, Emmanuel has helped leaders and organizations evolve by building resilient, future-ready leadership cultures. Through executive programs, women's leadership initiatives, and his knowledge transfer personal certification, he's empowering teams to retain critical knowledge, navigate transformation, and drive sustainable success. Emmanuel, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jordan.
My pleasure. My pleasure. How would you describe the work you do in leadership and executive development for someone hearing about it for the first time?
Well, it's a very interesting question. Thank you for asking. I describe like an intersection between leadership, knowledge, and evolution. I will try to define in a very simple way. I help, or we help leaders and organizations to evolve. And evolution means you are in control, don't react. And in a simple way, we try to help them to understand the scenario, create a good way to walk in the path, and then after that, create a good response. And that's all.
When you say we, how large is the firm?
We have 20 years work actually, we are working in Mexico, US, Canada, and the next week we'll reopen Brazil. And we are around 65 persons. We are 65 persons. And of course, we are more because most of the time we work by projects. The projects needs sometimes more people, more teams, different kind of roles. And sometimes we increase our base of people around 100, but most of the time we are around 60 persons, 60 people.
It's a pretty large firm. Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much, Jordan.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Were you always interested in leadership and personal development and evolution, or did something happen in your formative years that kind of made you interested into this?
Jordan, again, thank you for asking because you are a very interesting interviewer. The answer is yes, but I can say I always had a super clear vision of what we'll want to do or things like that. At the beginning of our story, we start with a strategic planning for big brands, and we create plans, we create frameworks to grow. But at the end of the day, I will talk in the first person because I am the founder. At the end of the day, I said, okay, this is good, but I want to do something more because I would love to work with people, not just with data or not just with documents. And after that, I start to explore in the training land, in the training sector. And it was amazing because I discovered I don't want to be pretentious, but I discovered after the people took our trainings, a lot of people said, hey, you changed my life. And I said, oh, okay, this is a good compliment, but this is a huge compliment. And after so many times that hear the same, I start to ask why. And the people said, because you don't work with skills, you work with mindset. And I said, that's huge. And we start to take that road, and we start to create our trainings in the way to expand their mindsets. And after that, it was interesting because at the beginning we start to talk with we start to work with C-level. After that, with directors, managers, medium managers, or supervisors, and all the levels of leadership. But I saw a patron. I saw something similar in each level. They don't understand, or they don't understood how can add value, the real value contribution. And our goal was help them to align their efforts to create a real value contribution for the business. But the people said, when you help me to that, I start to grow in my career. And after grow my career, I start to grow like a person. And Jordan, answer your question. At the beginning, we start to work with leaders. Nice. But after that, in maybe 12 or 14 years ago, we start with change management. But After work with change management, with huge brands, with large firms, large companies, I said the change management is a little bit reactive because you act after the change is here. And I decide to work with the future. I love to anticipate. I love to understand what will happen. I tried to find a model. I couldn't find it. I created the UDT model for knowledge transfer. And the main goal of that model is to anticipate the knowledge that you will need in the future scenarios and prepare your teams in that moment to face that kind of challenges. And that was absolutely different that I expect. I don't know, Jordan. Like, okay, it's a model, but a lot of people took that model like a standard. A lot of people took that model like a huge point of view in their lives. And after maybe 10 years working in that land, a lot of people took that model like a part of their identity. Actually, in our community, a lot of leaders, many leaders said they are strategic knowledge leaders because they can act in the present, understanding what will happen, anticipating the future. And Jordan, to be honest, I always listen our clients. I always listen our market. I always listen our users, and we develop our services through understand what they need and what is the piece of gold that they need to increase their level in their game. It will be a liar if I said, of course, from the beginning I imagine all this in my mind. No, I'm a learner. I'm a happy learner. I always try to understand, observe, and respond, not react. Respond to the goals of my clients. And the most important, anticipate the future to create something valuable for them until they need. It's very important because when our client said, I need, I'm late. I prefer to say, this is the future and you will need this. If you take this now, you will be more valuable. You can get advantage from your competitors. And
And
that's
that's where no, thank you for those insights. So many key takeaways there. And that's where I feel like the real value of a leadership consulting firm comes into play. Because as a leader that's operating at, let's just say, $1 million per year, as an example, you have no idea what's on the other side of that 3 million, 5 million, $10 million mark, right? You said essentially what we do, and please, if I'm wrong, please
Mhm.
correct me. We want to anticipate what our future needs are going to be, equip ourselves with those skills now, and then pass them down to our team. But if you don't necessarily know what's on the other side of that wall, it's kind of, in my opinion, a bit difficult to anticipate what you might need, right? So, what if you're a leader and you don't work with your firm, as an example, and you're guessing as to what you might need? And now you guess the wrong, I don't know, skill to equip yourself with, and you postpone success for another, 12, 24 months. Is that kind of what you were saying? Is that your framework?
Not exactly, but you
Okay.
describing us in a very easy way, and I agree with you because is like that because we are not wizards, we are not magicians, we don't know the future, but can help the leaders we can help leaders to understand their past and create some scenarios, some future scenarios, and prepare for the most in the top of three scenarios. And when you understand your future scenarios, you can start to prepare that information. But like you said, if you don't have that framework, if you don't understand what do you need to understand, what you need really understand, you start to guessing. You start to create efforts, no sense efforts. You start to spend tons of energy in no direction. And
Mm.
most important, I will be brutally honest. Most important, a lot of leaders wants to show their value to the company. They want to create status. They want to be relevant. And when they start to act with no directions, spending a lot of energy, the problem is they will spend a lot of money of the company. And the company, when they see when that the results are not aligned with the future of the business, the company will be very disappointed. And that is really bad for the future of that leader. And with our framework, that leader is the game is create the future. Not they will not be able to predict the future. They will start to create the future that the company needs because first, the change is inevitable. They will need to handle it, the changes during all the day. But when they start to respond, they can transform because the change is here, change. Okay, they start to transform the reality, and then they can start to move their efforts to evolve to the future that they want. And that's the difference. You will not be able to know the future until the future is here, but you start to create the future that you want. And when the future arrives, you maybe are 80% in advantage than others. That's the difference. I don't know if I can answer your question with that explanation, Jordan.
No, thank you for those insights. And not to be spiritual or metaphysical on the audience or even you, Emmanuel, but I am a firm believer that we do create our own realities. So, from your perspective, with 20 plus years in the game, how does one create the future that they want?
Well, like you said, not in a metaphysical way, in a very business. If you don't understand what is relevant for the company for you work or the company, you are losing the game every day because you are an expert, a functional expert, and the difference between a leader that is a functional expert or participants that they pass from functional experts to strategic leaders is the most important is you need to understand what does the company needs, what is important for your company, what is your business model. I don't care if you are in finance or if you are in IT, you need to understand the business model. And when you understand the business model, when you understand the vision of your company, you can create a huge value for your company. How? First of all, vision of the company, mission of the company, mission of my area, mission of my role, projects of my role, my strategic functionals, and what I am doing today to contribute in all of this. And when people understand that, they act every day with intention to create that future. Because if they don't if they don't understand that, they will work very hard with no direction. And that's the huge difference.
Yeah, I feel like you have to work backwards, right? You have to really, like, what is the vision, whether it's personally or from a business standpoint? And then everything kind of works backwards from that vision.
Mhm.
No, great insights there. You and I were talking off camera, or at least off recording here, about you and your personal development when it comes to running marathons. And then you dove into your book a little bit. And then I'm like, wait a second. We have to share this on the podcast. So please remind me what the name of your book is.
Yes, of course. The book in Spanish is Comienza Ya Maldita Sea. That means in English, start now. Damn it. For
Right. Yeah, you have to
Start now,
have that
damn
in
it.
there.
And after work with leaders in more than 20 years, I saw people very successful, apparently, but very sad in their lives. And I start to understand what is success, what means success. And it is something different for you, something different for me. I travel a lot. I interview a lot of people. I discover super amazing stories from rich people, from poor people, from rich people, very happy, rich people, very sad, poor people, very happy, poor people, very sad. And after that, I said, okay, I need to find something similar between all they create success, no important what means success for them. And I discover something similar. All they start in some points of their lives, they start with not knowledge, with not information, without resources, they start. with something in their minds, but they did the first step in some direction. And after that, when you start, it's very interesting to see that the path will create when you walk during your the people wants to be with you when you have a direction. The people will help you, the people will contribute you, and of course you will find something with more knowledge than you. You need to be humble to learn from them. You need to create value at that person to interchange their knowledge for something that you want to offer or you can offer. The whole point of that book is I wrote a book that I couldn't find it because I love to learn. I love to talk about leadership. I love to the self development. By one hand, Jordan, some books said wake up at 5 a.m. and work as hard as you can and be aggressive. And by other hand, other books said meditate, go out to the top of the mountain and be spiritual. And I said, okay, I want to create something in balance between these hands. And I create that book, or I wrote that book to be a little bit more aware of the life that you want to live in a city, in a real life. Because I will spoil you the book. The character is not about me, it's about character. The character at the end of the story, he was a successful executive, but with a very sad soul, and he just want to take photos. At the end of the story, he took photos. He created a gallery, and nobody was there. Nobody buy any of their photos, but he was excited. He was happy because he was working in something that it was important for him. And of course, he's still working on a big corporation. He's still working on a executive side, complementing his life, doing something valuable for him. With this, I will not say at anybody, if you like to create, I don't know, sculptors, you need to go for them. No, preserve your work and play with your sculptors during the weekend, because that will be that will be create happiness for you, and that's okay. But when you are happy in your free time, you can be more productive in your professional side.
Yes. Yes. Continue.
Yes.
Sorry. Let
No
me
worries.
interrupt.
No, no worries.
I'm very excited about this topic. Emmanuel, I have battled with giving up everything I have in America and becoming a freaking monk in Asia somewhere. I swear to you. I have for a long time have been torn between aggressive 5 a.m., make as much money as I can, retire early, help my family, etc. On the other side, let go of all desire, meditate for 3 hours a day, shave my head and just live in let goiness or have zero desire, etc. And I feel was extremely torn for a very, very, very long time. And I'm really glad that you wrote this book, because right after this, I promise you, I'm purchasing your book. Like, this is right up my alleyway, 100%. And I still am trying to figure it out. Part of me still has hustle culture, one might say. And the other part of me is like, take care of your mental health, like it wants to step into the spiritual side a bit more. And what really got me excited was at the very end of what you just said. When I do take a step back from work and I genuinely do things that make Jordan Lally happy on my free time, I show up to work in such a better mood, with so much more motivation, with so much more discipline, and with more creative energy to expand the business and expand the podcast, etc. So what you said is extremely valuable and important, especially in my own life.
Well, Jordan, again, like you said, I don't want to take a wrong side in this podcast, but we are more than our profession. We are energy. Actually, I believe 100% we are energy experiencing a human life.
Yes.
And I am playing the role like a CEO. I am acting like that, but I am not a CEO. This is my professional side. I make money in the third dimension through this. Okay. But
Yes.
I will love to experiencing the beauty, the other things like painting, running. I would love to hear talking to you. I'm loving this moment because I am more than my profession. my profession, I respect what I'm doing in my professional side. I respect a lot, but I will not be defined by that.
Mm.
Not allow that I will define my entire life for a title. Because Jordan, I am creator of a model. I founded a company that operates in different countries. But Jordan, I'm 100% that you are better than me creating a podcast. I would love to learn from you. And I can accept in my point of view that somebody said I'm superior than you. No, you just play another role in the company. You just have different knowledge than me in our professional side. And maybe you make or earn more money than me. Okay. But if at the end of the day, during the weekend, you are sad and the other person is happy, chanting or painting or taking photos, what is the most valuable life?
Mm.
What life is more valuable? And in my opinion, the both are valuable. But in my personal opinion, I prefer to be happy. Of course, I need to cover the bills. I am not naive. The money is important. The career is important. But if I put all my effort in my career, I will live with in an imbalance. And at the end of the day, that will be very dangerous for my family, for my mental health, and things like that. And that message we can always try to put in their minds or help the peoples to understand that yes, you want to be super successful. Yes, of course, but don't abandon yourself. Be a good parent. Be a good sister. Be a good father. Be a good husband. I don't know what is a good husband for you or for me. Maybe it's different, but be a good person
Mm.
and live a significant life. That is the message that we try to put on the table every time that we work with a large brand company or a huge brand company. At the end of the day, they end being more accurate with their goals, more happy with their roles because they understand this is not all that I will do in my life. I will be the best manager. I will be the best C level that I can, but I will be the most happy person that I can. I will be the most, I don't know, unsuccessful guitarist that I can, but I will play with the guitar. And this is a huge advantage when the people start to think like that. Like I said, you talk about the I will run my first marathon. We talked about that in 10 minutes ago before the podcast would start. And yes, I will run my first marathon. And the answer is why? Because I am 42 years old and I always be afraid to run a marathon because I said, but if I fail, but if I can't, and I said, Manuel, you wrote a book and the title of the book is Start Now. If you don't do that, you will be disrespectful with your own philosophy. Do it, man. But if I fail, you will have a great story, and definitely you will have the knowledge the necessary knowledge to be better in the next marathon. And who cares? If I
Mm.
fail, you will die. No, nothing's happened. Just go enjoy the moment and do that. And I create a plan to finish to cross the line. I'm training, I'm learning, but the most important, I am expanding my own knowledge. I am expanding my life. And Jordan, now I am talking about my next marathon with you in a leadership podcast. It sounds like no sense, but at the end of the day, the life makes sense when you integrate the whole parts of your life.
Yeah, there's so many things I want to say. Oh my gosh. Okay, so first and foremost is yes, we are nothing more than consciousness, which is energy experiencing life. Could not agree more, my friend. I played baseball for a long time and at a very elite level, and my identity was shaped around baseball. That is what I did. That is the only thing that I did. And when I suffered a career-ending injury, I essentially had an ego death where I fell into a great depression. I became an alcoholic, and it was a nightmare for several years. During the path of recovery, one might say, I stumbled upon spirituality where I learned about all of these like meditation and like the Buddhist way of life, et cetera, et cetera. And I feel like the more I step into that side on my free time, the happier I am as a person. And it doesn't necessarily matter how much money I make if I'm sad or if I'm depressed or if I'm unfulfilled, if that makes sense. And what you said about I might be a better podcast host than you, and you have the ability to be humble. And I think where that humbleness comes from for everyone out there is from people who are kind of tapped in to the spiritual side of life. And they understand that they're not as egotistical as some other CEOs or some other people out there who possess a title, if that kind of makes sense. And for one, I just want to acknowledge you and say I respect that and I appreciate that. I'm sure your firm also appreciates the fact that you can be humble sometimes and not egotistical. And you have that learner's mentality. You have that growth mindset, which is something, in my opinion, far more valuable than skills sometimes, is the mindset that we possess.
Can I add something?
Please.
I believe that as much as you learn, you humble you need to be. I like you. I experienced the death of my ego because I had a very ego spirituality years ago when I said I'm learning about meditation. I'm learning about be present, mindfulness. I'm awakening my third eye. Now I can be more consciousness when I am in the middle of a conference. And after many years being not a very smart person, trying to doing my best, I realize I would love to experience the life. I am living in a very interesting moment in my life. Like I am here to enjoy the life. I'm here to experience different things. And one of the thing that I want to experience is to be in a meeting with other person because many of the leaders are very struggling because they don't see their kids because they are in the middle of a meeting with somebody talking with other person in the other part of the world and they're struggling and they are very stressed and when you understand this is part of your life enjoying the moment interchange ideas culture mindset but experience that moment because that moment is unique and this is your life everything's changed and I experience that kind of I don't know if it's level, but I decide don't try to tag the situation or don't try to say this is like this. No, this is just the life. I will do my best. I will be super focused in this moment because I am part of a company. I will do the things that the company wants because there's a philosophy, there's a culture. I will do in that way. If I don't like it because my values don't align with the company, I will try to be in other part. But at the moment, I will try to experience the happiness. I will try to experience the most valuable moment for me because if not, I will die. I will be like a walking dead. I don't like it.
No, absolutely. And I've experienced that recently. I'm not going to get into it now, but yeah, I definitely know what you mean. And I was Walking Dead for a minute, but we're back now. Happy, healthy, and thriving. Emmanuel, I know I'm butchering your name. Sorry, I'm a gringo by heart, but where can the people find you, my friend? Social media?
Yes, well, my social media is on LinkedIn. It is the most important social media that I have, and Instagram. My social media is Emmanuel Puga, like double Emmanuel. My last name is Puga. My company is Great Plan, GreatPlan. You can find us in our website, www.great-plan.com or in LinkedIn too. Of course, if somebody wants to be in touch with me, I will be more than happy. I will be more than open to start a conversation and interchange opinions. And of course, if we can create some business, I will be happy. If not, I will be happy to talk instead. No worries.
Awesome. Well, Emmanuel, I gained a ton of knowledge. It was truly a pleasure having you on the show. Just thank you for your time, my friend. Audience, thanks for tuning in. And until next time.
See you, Jordan. Thank you for the space. Bye bye.